This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, welcome to Ground Your Light. My name is Lauren, and I am your host here today with Sarah Dawkins. And I wanted to share a little bit about Ground Your Light and its intention so you know where you've landed and why you might want to stay and listen. So, this particular guest speaker series is meant to be a support for women awakening their feminine soul. And this is a way for us to take the wisdom that we're receiving and really ground it so that we can implement this wisdom, our soul gifts, to our sacred purpose in life. And I've been so fortunate to have so many wonderful guests that are divine feminine leaders, really forging the way for New Earth. And I am here today with Sarah Dawkins. She's an award-winning entrepreneur and previously was a registered nurse for 20 years. She has extensive experience in health and healing from naturally, self-healing a multitude of health issues, and through her work as a registered nurse. Sarah supports clients to find and heal the root cause of their health problems, thereby improving their health and ultimately their lives. You can now, oh, sorry, that was something else, but I was going to mention that one of the ways that Sarah and I connected is through the Rose of Silence retreat. And from that retreat, one of the golden nuggets that I took was one of the bullet points you kind of highlighted in your talk that you gave us around becoming what we are becoming. So we might not necessarily feel comfortable where we're at. And I think this is true for a lot of us. We are going through a massive period of transformation. A lot of people are trying to deconstruct their lives to come into a rebirth. And this can be a difficult place, and we might be in one place, but feel like we want to be in another. And it can be a hard time to really land in our own sacred sanctuary. And yet, Sarah, you offered the wisdom of loving who we are becoming. And I just, that just still is just running a really strong current through me. And I appreciate so much of the wisdom that you shared with us. And you're going to share your 4 pillars of healing today. And so I would love for you to introduce yourself in your own words and then take it away.
Thank you, Lauren. So, as you've said, I help clients to heal from the root cause of their health problems, and in doing so, we need to take responsibility and ownership of our own health because we've been conditioned to give that away to the medical professionals and continue doing what we're doing, enjoy what we're doing, and just take a pill when we get some symptoms or when we have a diagnosis of a disease. So, my aim is to help people to take back that responsibility for their health, take back that ownership, and become more proactive in their own health and healing rather than wait for a diagnosis from a doctor and then look at what they can do on their own healing journey. Is let's be proactive and let's take responsibility for what we do in our lives with regards to our health, and look at what we can do to stop the disease coming. But if we have that disease or symptoms, look at what we can do on our own healing journey. And I've devised 4 pillars: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, to help us on our healing journey. And these also keep us healthy, but they also help us to heal. And when we're looking at healing, most of us, myself included, tend to just look at what we can do physically with regards to nutrition. So, eating healthier foods, choosing less prepackaged food, less seed oils, and opting for more nutritious single ingredient foods like fruit, veg, salad, meat, nuts, seeds, eggs. and making our own foods. Exercise. Now, not everybody can do everything regarding exercise, but walking is a massively underrated exercise, and the majority of us can do that, whether it's just a few paces to start with and then build up over time, or whether it's go for a lovely long walk out in some green space, wherever you want to. But walking outside has so many health benefits. And of course, we can breathe in that fresh air, we can take in our environment, we can listen to nature without earphones in. Sleep is another element in the physical side of healing, because we don't all get a good night's sleep. So if we can aim for the set bedtime every night and a set waking up time every morning, and make that a habit, get ourselves to bed at the same time every night and try and get up the same time every morning. And we can develop that over time so it becomes our normal sleep routine. Have the room dark and not too hot. Hydration is also in the physical element, and that's about staying hydrated. Now, we don't have to drink gallons and gallons of water. Tea infusions, coffee are all liquids. They will all hydrate us. Yes, tea and coffee are diuretics and they will take some fluid away from us, but we will get more from them than we part with. And oxygen, breathing. How often do we actually think about breathing? Most people don't think about how they're breathing. And we tend to live our lives just breathing in the top part of our chest. So if we can take some time, just a couple of minutes, several times a day, and just breathe deep, breathe all the way down to the bases of your lungs, which go down to your waist. And breathe really deep into your lungs and fill your belly up with oxygen. It's not your belly, obviously, but your belly will extend as you fill your lungs up. It's called abdominal breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. But really take on board that oxygen. And the more you can slow your breathing down, the more you will go into a parasympathetic relaxation state. So we can use it for not just taking on board that extra oxygen, which will nourish our cells, but we will use it as a relaxation technique, just some slow, deep breathing. Doesn't have to be for a long time, as long as if you've only got a minute, just do a minute, but do several each day. If you've got 10 minutes, just sit down and be with your breath and take on board that oxygen. So those are the main physical elements of healing and health. The mental side of it is around mindfulness and gratitude. And both of these help calm our mind. So, mindfulness is just literally being present, being in that moment, being aware of what's around you, what's going on, and being focused on it, letting everything else go. And in those times, we find we lose time because we're in the flow, in inverted commas, um, because we are deep in thought in whatever it is that we're doing. We're so mindful, our attention is so hyper focused. But we can be mindful outside. We can sit under a tree and just listen to the birds. So we're using our auditory, our hearing, for mindfulness. Or we can watch something, watch the birds flying, watch the trees moving, watch the wind, or just even watch what's going on in our environment, just being in that moment, in that mindful moment. And expressing gratitude. Now, gratitude is just having thanks for what we've got rather than looking at what we haven't got. It's all too easy to go, well, I haven't got this and I want that and I need that. So we're looking at lack. So if we can come back into ourselves and go, thank you, I have a roof over my head. And I'm so grateful I have food in my fridge and in my pantry. And I'm so grateful I have clothes to wear and friends who love me and family who love me. And look at the little things to have gratitude for, even if it's like a good cup of coffee or a message from a friend. It's all the real little things, and there's so many of them. All too often, it's easy to say, "Oh, I have gratitude for this holiday." Absolutely. But it's not about the big things. We need to rein that back in and look at all the little things that we have in our lives. Because if we're always wanting more and we're looking at the lack, what makes us think that we're going to have gratitude when we get more? Because then will we still want more again? So bring that right back in and look for those little things. Meditation also is under the remit of the mental health, and that too helps to calm our mind. Now, meditation can be a whole range of different things. And when it was first mentioned to me, I tried to meditate sitting cross legged on the floor with silence because that's what I thought it was. It was like this preconceived idea of what meditation was. But it can be anything you want it to be. And for me, that didn't work. So, whatever works for you. And the meditation I do now tends to be from a guided meditation from one of the video channels online, and finding something for A, the amount of time you want to do it, B, somebody's voice that you actually like, and C, a meditation around what it is that you want to meditate on, whether it's self reflection, whether it's a job in the future, whether it's a change of circumstances. You can meditate on anything: anger, passive aggressiveness, changing your beliefs, changing your mindset, anything at all. There's billions of meditations out there. So choose one. And then try maybe at the end of that guided meditation to sit for a few moments to just be with yourself in that moment, allowing yourself to absorb everything you've heard and you've made visual pictures of in your mind. So the meditation, the mindfulness, and the gratitude all help bring our body into calm and peace. But something else we can do for our mental health is learning new skills, learning new crafts, learning to be creative. So we're on the one hand, we can bring our mind down, but on the other hand, we can lift our mind up with learning new things. So we're making new neuron connections in our brain. Learning, for me, I live in Spain, so I'm learning the language. I learned to crochet last year. But learning new skills, it helps keep our brain active. Even if you want to do crosswords or colouring or anything that stimulates your mind is incredibly good to keep your mind active. And also in the mental health, I do believe authenticity would sit. And that is about deciding who you are, really, because a lot of us have become somebody who we're not to please other people. And in doing so, we've lost touch with who we are. So, being authentic means coming back into ourselves to find who we are and to understand what it is that we actually like to do for ourselves rather than pleasing others. And that can get some kickback from other people because as we become more authentic, more of ourselves, other people might not recognize the person that we're becoming, and we're becoming ourselves. We're stepping out of that role that we've been playing to please other people and coming back into ourselves to do what we want to do, to look after ourselves. And if you're not sure what that looks like, think about things that you like to do for yourself, the clothes you like to wear, the food you like to eat, the music you like to listen to, and write it all down and decide who you are authentically at a soul level and what it is that you like to do, and make yourself do more of that so you become more you and less people pleasing. And in doing so, you will build new relationships. New people will gravitate towards you, and you will have deeper relationships with these people because you're relating to them at the level that you are truly, rather than a level of superficial, artificial, people pleasing person. So that's the physical and the mental. Excuse me. At an emotional level, this is a really deep level, and lots of symptoms can come up and manifest in our body from our past traumas. And we might not even recognize our traumas. We might have forgotten what went on, but our body, our mind remembers, our subconscious mind. So we have to heal our past, to heal our present, and to heal our future. And that involves looking at the past through the eyes of the adult we are now, because we were hurt as children, and we hold on to that hurt as that inner child within us, and we still feel that hurt as that child. So if we can look back at that situation with the knowledge and the skills that we've got now as this adult, look at it through a different perspective. What happened? Who was involved? What do you think they went through in their childhood that made them say or do whatever it is that hurt us? And as I've said previously in the Silent Rose retreat, it's not so much about what happened, although that is important. What is more important is how we held that as children, and how we continue to hold that as that wounded child within us. So if we can understand the situation that led to that hurt, and understand the people involved and their past too, it helps us to see the past through the eyes of compassion. And if we can bring compassion to ourselves, our child, our inner child, and the people who hurt us, it helps us to understand further, to be able to forgive what's happened, the people involved, to let it go. And that forgiveness isn't condoning the behavior, it isn't letting people off the hook. What that forgiveness does is it's the gift we give ourselves to allow us to let go of carrying the burden of that past hurt with us now, here in the present. And for our future, we can move forwards into our future without that heavy burden of our past. Also in emotional healing is our community and our friends. Are we around like-minded people? Do we get support from our community, from our friends, whoever we see them as? Do they support our emotional health, or do they drain us? And if they drain us, can we put boundaries in for ourselves? Whether it's change our community and choose new friends, whether it's put some of our friends at arm's length because we still want to remain friends, but because they drain us so much, we can't see them too often because we need to protect ourselves. But we need to do something to protect our emotional status. And the last thing around emotional healing and health is understanding our triggers, because our triggers are our greatest teachers. And what does that mean? When we're triggered by something, we tend to feel frustrated or maybe even angry. And if we can just take a moment and breathe and ask ourselves, do a bit of self-reflection, what is it about what's been said or what's occurred that is triggering me, that's causing this emotional response in me? And dig deep into it. So we will understand the emotional response. We can give it a name. It's frustration, it's anger. Why am I feeling like that? What's happened in my past that had this same reaction that's coming out again now? And why do I feel like I feel about what's going on? And if we can dig deep into that and understand why we're being triggered, we can heal whatever happened in the past to make us believe or what we believe now, or feel what we feel now. So understanding our triggers helps us to heal a part of us that we've maybe not seen before or not identified. And the last and final part of healing is the fourth pillar, is spiritual healing. And it doesn't have to be about religion. It can be if you want it to be. It's about reconnecting to that voice inside of us, whatever name you want to give it. Some people call it inner wisdom, higher self. Other people call it God, the universe, the angels, spirit. The name that we give in it isn't so important. What's important is that we can reconnect back to that inner voice, because it's there for us, it loves us, it wants what's best for us. And if we can reconnect, it will give us wisdom. It will help us and guide us on our journey through life. And also in the spiritual aspect is random acts of kindness. If we can be spiritual and be kind to people and do random acts of kindness, compliment people, hold a door open for somebody, lift a bag for somebody, help somebody onto a bus. There's so much that we can do to help other people that will put a smile on their face, but also give us that satisfaction that we've been able to help them in their daily life, however we do that at some point. And there's so much that we can do. It doesn't have to be financial, but it can be if you want it to be. Pay for a loaf of bread that somebody can't afford in their shopping, or give a beggar some money, or buy somebody a coffee. There's so much that we can do to help other people on their own healing journey. So if we're looking at those 4 pillars, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, we can take back the responsibility for ourselves. Yes, there's a huge amount of information there. Yes, there's so much that we can do to help ourselves, but we don't have to do it all at once. We can do it in baby steps. Do what we can, when we can, with the knowledge and skills that we've got at any one time. And that's all anybody can do. And just work towards bettering your health through the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual pillars of health. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. So, maybe share a little bit about like how did you get to the place where you're here now sharing, you know, about the healing journey for others? I think, through your own experience, you've come into this wisdom, so you have a real embodied sense of it
Yeah.
and what has worked for you. And so, you're certainly sharing from, yeah, personal experience and embodied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I healed a lot of health conditions. I started off with eczema, psoriasis, and acid reflux. And of course, at the time, I didn't understand the 4 pillars of healing, so just went to the physical and stopped eating gluten and dairy. Learned to de-stress a little more, started walking a bit more, and got my skin out to the sun without cream on. And that within about a month, I healed the eczema, psoriasis, and acid reflux just by doing that. But I didn't understand the deeper healing required for the skin conditions. So periodically they would pop back as a message, but I didn't understand that. I just thought I needed to, stop eating inflammatory food and get into the sunshine. I went on to heal candida by cutting out sugar and carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates. I healed chronic joint pains through chiropractic manipulation along with acupuncture. And I still hadn't learned the other 3 pillars. I was still only working on the physical. Um, and then I suffered from depression with suicidal thoughts. My thyroid stopped working and I burnt out my adrenal glands. And I didn't want to be medicated because I knew I'd already healed all these different conditions. And I'd had antidepressants a long time previously in the past. And they made me feel like a zombie. So I didn't want to go down that route. Had no idea how I was going to heal. But over time, I think because I had to walk the dogs twice a day and my friends took me to the gym once a week, I started to feel better. And as I started to feel better, I was more able to do logical, rational thinking again. And that's how I found gratitude and mindfulness. And I actually found that I was doing that before I even realized what it was. So once I realized what it was, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been doing that for a few months. And then that was when I started meditating, because then I could start to think about and process and progress my healing. And so was still doing the dietary, but then I started to detox my body and detox my life. To heal my thyroid, part of it was to detox my lifestyle and change my products from regular shop bought shampoo, conditioner, soap, laundry products, cleaning products, threw all of that out and started making a lot of my own and buying clean, non toxic products. So my body didn't have to detoxify all the chemicals that I was taking in through using those products. Another part of thyroid healing was speaking your truth, because it's part of your throat
Mhm,
chakra.
mhm.
So I learnt to start speaking my truth, speaking the words rather than swallowing them. Excuse me. I'm just healing a cold. Um, and then I started to learn about the mental health with practicing the gratitude, mindfulness, meditation. And then I went on to do the spiritual, come back to that voice inside me. It wasn't until I did my coach training that I realized there was some deep emotional healing to do from my past. And that's really when I started my true healing back in 2016, after I learnt to be a coach and understood what I needed to do, because we did a lot of internal healing through that coaching practice.
Mm. Wow, that's such good stuff. Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to mention like some of the things that were kind of just coming through as I was listening to you, is kind of circling back. You were talking about, just acts of kindness. And I think something that I just recently had a conversation with someone about was that we miss opportunities to to be to offer acts of kindness, or we might even show up in life in ways that aren't kind simply for lack of awareness or
Yeah.
presence. And
Yes.
so that's why the mindfulness practice is so important for everyone, because it creates that space where we can begin to broaden our perspective, and our lens grows a little larger so that we're not always just hyper focused on what we're doing, but we can see the larger field and maybe notice who just needs a look in the eye for acknowledgement. Because when I used to teach mindfulness classes, and there I'm not sure what date this study was, but it's probably from quite a while ago now, that like 1/4 of the population in the US suffer from loneliness.
Wow.
So it's like 25% of our population feel like they have no one to turn to. And so a simple acknowledgement as you're passing someone in the grocery store, or like you said, giving someone a compliment, or, paying for someone's groceries or drink, whatever,
Yeah.
goes so far. And because you just don't know who's on the other receiving end and what their life is like. And so, yeah, I feel like when we can slow down and be more mindfully present, we become aware of areas where we can be in service to the world in a sense, like sort of unconsciously even, because these random acts of kindness can just be sort of a natural state of our being. We don't have to like think about all the details, like, oh, should I, shouldn't I, what should I do? Like, it just sort of becomes more natural because we have that spaciousness. Yeah.
Yeah. And I find sometimes as well, you can, as you say, miss opportunities. And
Mhm.
then, later in the day, like, why didn't I hold that door open? Or why didn't I help that person with the bags? Or what was I waiting for there in that situation? I could have just stepped in and helped out. So when we reflect and see those signs where we could have stepped in and offered kindness, I think that reinforces to us how many opportunities we do get to be kind to others, and hopefully open us up to be kinder, to do more random acts of kindness for people.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Mm. The other thing that I was going to mention was about healing trauma and even tying it into depression. Um, so, you know, we can work on our inner child, which goes back to even our growth in utero, and how our mother's experience going through pregnancy, but not only that, even, but her experience growing up, how that informs the fetus. And because the cerebellum is the first part of the brain to develop in the embryo, which is the what you could call the mother brain, or the part of the brain that regulates emotions and also our sort of magical mind, our ability to um, really feel into the magical realms, the spiritual realms, our intuition, our insight, and um, and so if it's just remarkable how intelligent this growing fetus can be. It can recognize when the mother is stressed. And when it does, it shuts off that part of the brain because it's in fear, flight, or fight. And so then we don't have access to all parts of ourselves. So doing and then also I think that can contribute to, I mean, the epidemic of depression that we experience as a human race, really, because that part of us is really turned off. So we're limited to our five senses when really we should have a multidimensional sensory system. And so not only do our own personal childhood circumstances influence the health of our health, but then also like our mothers, and then our mothers experience like the generational patterns and even ancestral patterns, like those all carry forward from womb to womb in a
Yeah.
sense. So there's a lot of undoing and unraveling and realizing sometimes that, oh, this isn't even my like emotional trauma. It might be
Yeah.
my mother's, but I'm carrying it for her. And, bringing it forward, it's fascinating. Yeah. So, like, when you
Yeah.
get into that deeper dive of healing, those emotional layers and spiritual layers are pretty fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But even though it might not be ours, it might be our parents or grandparents, we can still heal that
Yes.
for us and for them so that we can let go of carrying that
Yeah.
forwards in our lives.
Yeah. And creating, a vessel that has more purity so that we can bring children into the world that aren't also holding on to that trauma. So the work that you do is not only for yourself but for generations forward.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
bit of a torch to carry, but if you can do the hard work, you're serving not only yourselves but so many more.
Yes, and not just forwards as well, but laterally to
Yeah.
extended family, but also nearest and dearest close friends as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And don't you feel like, I know you've mentioned, some of the things that you've been doing recently and people are noticing and they're asking, you know, that when you do the work, you can't help but activate other people. And then it gives them an invitation to try different things for themselves too. Oh, well, if you can cut out gluten and dairy, then maybe I should see what it can do for me. That kind of thing. Or oh gosh, I also have had issues with my thyroid. And so it's just this beautiful unfolding and it helps to um, I don't know, just, you know, weave this spiral of unity amongst us and yeah,
And healing.
and healing,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with I guess, like, tell us, so how does it look to work with you? Or do you do primarily like one-on-one sessions, or do you offer group sessions?
I primarily one-on-one, and I do video calls for anybody that's outside of my local area. I am looking at setting up group coaching. I also have a course online to heal yourself at home, available through my website. The link is there to take you. So you can do that, and it spoon feeds you all the information and more that I've talked about today, in the four planes: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And it helps you to identify parts of you that need attention, and helps to work through those, whilst holding your hand. I also offer one-on-one coaching to go alongside it if people need that. But a lot of people like to do it on their own and work through it at their own pace. And I say I'm looking at setting up some group coaching to incorporate my course, and my own one-on-one coaching, but in groups as well, to bring people together, because people like to be connected to other people.
Right, right. And do you have a book?
I have a book, yes, called Heal Yourself. Thank you. It's my own journey and 74 others healing themselves from a whole range of conditions, many from things doctors said can't be healed, like autoimmune, cancer, multiple sclerosis, ALS, or motor neurone, as we call it in the UK, allergies, asthma, sensitivities, stroke. A whole range of people healing a whole range of different things, sharing how they healed, to help people to see that we really can heal our bodies. We're born healers. We just forgot.
Mm. I love hearing stories. That's such a great idea for a book, is to be inspired by others' stories of transformation and healing. I just recently watched a documentary called Fasting, the Healer Within. And they profiled maybe a couple different people in there that had some incredible stories of healing. And we're kind of at that place where, Western medicine couldn't really offer them anything else. And so they embarked on a fasting journey and healed their illnesses, and it was, I mean, remarkable, remarkable. So
Yes,
the
yes.
body
Our
is
body,
so intelligent, right?
isn't
Like
it? Yes,
it knows what to do if we can provide the right environment. Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
Hmm. Well, thanks, Sarah, for joining us, and I'll put all the links up, so in case somebody wants to connect with you, that'll be up in the Facebook um, comment under the video. And I so appreciate you sharing this beautiful wisdom with us. Thank you.
Thank you too, Lauren, for the opportunity to come and speak in your group.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, thanks so much. All right, take care, and we will see you all later for another Ground Your Light that we have coming up in early-ish June. So we'll see you then.